Hello. This is Mike. The less lethal devices used by law enforcement versus civilians are deployed in totally different scenarios than is deployed by civilians. Therefore, the concept that it's good for us because the police use it is flawed. The only thing significant about the police using a less lethal device is it is likely to be built well and durable. I will now cover 3 less lethal devices often used by police. Note, they use all kinds of additional devices. This is a commonly used 40mm launcher. It will launch your 40mm soft-nosed projectile with 100 joules of force. It can also launch chemical irritant shells and flashbang grenades. The thing to note here is the 40mm kinetic shells hitting at a force of 100 joules often seems to have no adverse effect on the targeted individuals, unless shot in the head, which could be lethal. The 2-shot model shown is one of the few models that will be sold to civilians. You pay 3 times the cost of the Pulse civilian model, and it has less practical use. Its primary weakness is true for the whole professional line. They have only a 5-second engagement period. You can trigger additional engagements, but none will last longer than 5 seconds. This is one of the primary fallacies of tasers only working 50% of the time. A suspect might continue to struggle, rip out the electrodes, and keep resisting because of this short engagement period. Law enforcement agencies ask for the short 5-second engagement period to avoid legal concerns. Even so, taser use by law enforcement brings in many lawsuits a year because of its real-world effectiveness. When hit with only a 5-second blast, most people will drop like a dead weight, which might cause them to hit their head, and in one known extreme case, get run over by a car. The other feature some of the newer professional models have is range out to 40 feet or so. One new and very costly model can shoot up to about 45 feet and has a 10-probe projectiles capability. When it comes to chemical irritant devices, law enforcement agencies have virtually a catalog of devices to choose from. They are limited only by department policy, federal, state, and local laws for law enforcement. They are used for simple things like to subdue those resisting arrest, all the way out to crowd control and rioting. The less lethal launchers available to civilians come in 3 calibers, 43, 50, and 68 calibers. Usually they are marketed for their ability to shoot chemical projectiles in the form of pepper balls. Pepper balls for civilian use is not very useful. Civilians, unlike the police, don't get to call the manner and method of confrontation. We are not allowed to engage in potential adversary from a safe distance. We can't use our launchers at all until an immediate threat of great bodily harm is upon us. Our attacker determines when, where, and how they will attack. We can only react. Other than a deranged mental case, no criminal is going to confront us further than about 10 feet away, and perhaps up to 15 feet in rarer cases. That gives us a couple of seconds to react. If we have sufficient draw speed and accuracy and manage to place a couple of shots on target, they better not be pepper balls. There is at minimum a 5-second out to 30 seconds or more passing before the assailant will be sufficiently affected by the pepper ball irritant to break off their attack. This assumes the pepper balls actually break, which is not likely on surfaces like human flesh or clothing. If some criminal tries to rob you at knife point in close quarters, you better comply, or be able to draw fast and hit them with enough joules from hard, solid projectiles to make them think that they have been shot by a firearm. Against a summer-dressed assailant, you might get away with 20 joules from multiple shots, but 30 to 35 joules is better. The problem is there are few pistol-styled launchers that can reasonably be concealed carried that have 30 to 35 joules of power or more. Only 3 come to mind: the Grimberg Gavel, the Pepperball TCP, and the First Strike FSC. Please note that we here at Less Lethal Options watch a large number of other YouTube channels on less lethal devices. The technical things you can learn are amazing and invaluable. When it comes to claims of effectiveness, however, please understand, like us, they just have an opinion. I hear a lot of low to medium powered launchers be billed as being effective because you would shoot the assailant in the face. There are serious flaws in that solution. We know hitting someone in the eyes with anything will slow or stop them, so we bypass that and look at hitting other spots on the face. Those YouTubers with technical skills leave no doubt about their abilities or claims, as they usually demonstrate, often step by step, their various mods and testing, for all to see. We all look for the chronograph readings and projectile weighing for all power claims. When it comes to the effectiveness of pepper balls, I haven't seen any video showing its effectiveness in a real situation. Testers usually stand like statues, or walk at zombie speed, and it usually requires them to hold up a board or something else hard so the pepper balls will even break. We are not the police. We don't shoot pepper balls into a car, garage, house, or even at a stationary person, and wait for it to take effect, if at all. We don't have lethal backup, with time to analyze the situation. I think pepper balls for law enforcement is great, but for we civilians, I worry that people think they are going to be effective, and get seriously hurt. The only thing pepper balls, like weak launchers, will likely do, is piss someone off, and make it personal or an ego battle, where they might try to hurt the defender, when initially they just wanted to rob them. When it comes to touting weak launchers will be effective, because you just shoot the assailant in the face with kinetic projectiles, that assertion falls flat in a real robbery or attack away from home. The first problem is I never see those making the claim show they can draw from a holster in 2 seconds or less and hit a target the size of a human face with several shots, while moving backwards or to the side, trying to avoid being cut or hit. I would like to see a 2-second or less draw, fire, and hit of a stationary target in the face, least alone a target that is moving as you are moving. If you actually have the skill and luck to get a couple shots to the face, with a weak launcher, there are some personalities that will run, but many others will see the encounter turning into a brawl and act accordingly. At home, from ambush you might could go for headshots, but not on the street. You need something that is powerful enough to aim for upper center mass, or the legs, if that is all that is available. Our opinions are like you know what, we all have one. In closing on launchers, I would say, carry a launcher that you would submit to a robber if they banished one. The Pulse and Bolt 2 civilian TASER models are better suited for personal defense than the professional models. They have a 30-second engagement period, which can be re-engaged for additional 30-second periods. Unlike the police, who want to stop a suspect long enough to handcuff them, or at least get them under control, we want to flee an attacker. The 30 seconds gives us time to flee the scene. You leave the TASER at the scene, because TASER will send you in replacement if you file a police report. Many people may not react to, or they recover fast from a 5-second police TASER. There is no data on the effectiveness of a 30-second engagement, but I put my well-being on the likelihood that few people out there will brush it off. The weak point of the civilian TASER is it only has one shot, and therefore remains a do-or-die less lethal option. The stun baton is a new less lethal device for we at less lethal options. It is in essence a stun gun, but because it has a more powerful shock, can make contact much further away from the assailant, and can be used as a regular baton, I have added to my personal less lethal arsenal. It probably is best suited for the car or at the door, perhaps an umbrella stand, where it would be in stealth mode, joined by an umbrella or two in the stand with it. Walking the dog, or taking out the trash for collection, may also be good uses for it. Prolonged touching can cause some lost motor control. There is an intimidation factor with the baton, which is much greater than with a normal stun gun. With a stun gun, there is only the thought of pain, which only lasts long as contact is made. With the baton, a few short arching blasts, tied in with its size and its wicked looks, is more likely to make a would-be assailant think of being electrocuted, more so than just pain. Last, but never least, are the less lethal chemical irritants available to we civilians. It basically comes down to pepper sprays and gels. We have beat pepper balls to death earlier. The main limitation with pepper sprays and gels is, there is going to be a lag time commonly of about 5 to 30 seconds, before the debilitating symptoms take hold. This means we need to be prepared to run, or dodge and duck away from the assailant's weapon, or grasp, until the symptoms kick in, at which time we flee. One topic we haven't covered in this video is why do many less lethal advocates deck their launchers out, like the police or military does. We are not either. Perhaps it's just the amplification of our recommended strategy that we make criminals think we have real firearms, but perhaps it's something else.